Hey class, we're back and we are going to place the rebar into this foundation wall detail. So let's start off with probably the simplest one. There's a number 4 continuous rebar in the haunch of this slab. So again, we're going to see that in section. So annotate, component. We're going to change our component to reinforcing bar section. Now we loaded these previously. Now this is a number 4 bar, so we choose number 4, and it simply gives us basically a black dot the size of a number 4 bar, 4/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch rebar. And we're just going to eyeball it in the center of the haunched area. For the bars down here in the footing, we can look at our instructions, and we have the concrete footing reinforcing with the concrete footing reinforced with 4 number 5 bars continuous and number 4s at 12 inches on center. So the elevational piece of rebar is a number 4. So again, we're going to go to component, change our type in the type selector to reinforcing bar elevation number 4. That was a number 4, correct? Yep, number 4s. Now if you look at the finish section, we have 3 inches of cover on the bottom of the footing, and we have 2 inches of cover on the side of this foundation wall. I'm just going to use 2 inches for the side, 3 inches for the bottom on this as well. So I'm going to click to place my piece of rebar, and as I always say, I could use these temporary dimensions. I have to drag them around to place this, but I know that eventually I have to put a dimension showing this rebar cover anyway, so I can place that dimension to the bottom of that rebar and use that to drive the location of this piece of rebar. I'm going to do a couple other things real quick. I'm going to turn off my cropping region. I'm going to make it invisible by coming down here to hide crop region on the view control bar. And I'm going to take this dimension and I'm going to move it sort of outside of my drawing so I can see it. And now I can select this and I can change this to be 3 inches. What I can do here is these dimensions I'm not going to keep, but I'm going to use them to get the rebar in place, because you'll notice that if I drag this one way, and then let's say I want this dimension to be 2 inches as well, it's going to move the piece of rebar instead of actually resizing that side. So by having the actual dimension in here, I can just eyeball it. I can move it, and it moves in a regular increment, and I can get that to 2 inches. So now I have my piece of horizontal rebar, which is again the elevation detail component. Now I can come back to my notes and I can see that I'm supposed to have 4 number 5s continuous. So those are number 5. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of number 5 on top of this that are in section. So component, go back to my section and find a number 5. And the way that I do these, I usually place this so that the left side is about, has the same amount of cover on the left side, and just enough above this bar where I can actually see some space in between. And then when you go to place the other one, it should find an inference from the last one you placed so that you can align them up. And then I'm going to place 2 more, and I'm just eyeballing these for now. If I really want to get these, that looks pretty good, that looks pretty centered, that could be okay, but again, we're always trying to draw the best we can. So what you can do is you can grab dimension string. So my quick access bar, I just use the dimension button, and go from center to center to center. creating one dimension string. And when you place that dimension string, just like any dimension string, you can hit this equals button. And what that does, I didn't even see it move, I must have gotten them really close, is it makes these spaces equal. So we have three equal spaces. And now I can delete that dimension. However, Autodesk is going to give us a warning saying, these items are constrained with the dimension that you just deleted. Do you want to keep them constrained even though the dimension is gone, or do you want to unconstrain them? Generally, it's fine to just say, okay, what's going to happen is now if I move this, they're all going to move so that the spacing between them is equal. So generally I leave it like that so that they do that, but sometimes you want to turn it the other way. It's up to you what you want to do. Alright, so let's look back at our drawing. The next thing that we're going to do in here is this piece of rebar that goes up the wall and has a bend in it. So that's component, and we previously loaded this one as well, and this is the one that's called reinforcing bar bend 3-8. And according to our notes, the 12-inch poured concrete wall has 2 mats of number 5s. So that's a number 5 bar. So number 5. And I'm going to press the space bar to rotate this 90 degrees until it's in the orientation I want it to be in. And I'm just going to place this generally where I want it to be. And again, I can look at my drawing. I'm just kind of getting it right on the other side of these continuous pieces of rebar. I am dimensioning this 2-inch cover here. So again, I'm going to dimension from the face of my elevation or foundation wall to the face of my rebar. Now, for some reason, it's not picking up that edge. It's going to the center line of the wall. Again, if you have a hard time highlighting the thing you want to dimension to, just press the tab key, and it'll cycle through the available options. So I'm going to place that dimension. Again, I'm just going to pull this out for now because I'm going to want it out eventually. Now I can select this piece of rebar and type 2 inches here, and that's going to place it. Now the way that these legs work, or the length of this works, is that is done when we select it. That is done in the properties. So what we need to do is sort of measure from this end to the bar to get a rough idea. Let's call that 1 foot 8. So we can come up here and we can say L2. I believe L2 is the base leg. I could be wrong. Is 1 foot 8. And it's still overhanging a little bit. That looks like maybe about an inch. So let's make that 1 foot 7. That's not quite right. And here's the problem. We can't really just drag this. So we have to keep kind of figuring this out. So I'm going to say oops, messed up that. 1 foot 7.5 inches. Let's try that. That's close enough, right? So then we're going to look at our drawing and see how far up this goes. It's just got a little bit of cover up there. It's not defined. Maybe it's 2 inches, so we can kind of go from the top here to the bottom here. Of course, I'm getting an angled measurement, so let's go somewhere around here and go straight up to the top. 4 foot 6. So let's call that 4 foot 7, which means this probably wants to be 4 foot 6. So let's try that. Too high. Let's back it off an inch. See what that looks like. Maybe 1 more inch. 4 foot 4. That looks great. So there's that bar. We have another number 5 that's just a vertical in here. So this bend ties the footing into the wall. So we're going to go to Annotate, Component, and again get a reinforcing bar and elevation this time, not the bar bend, just a bar. hit spacebar to rotate it, get it in place. Now this time, because I'm not going to dimension this side, this time I will use my temporary dimensions. I drag the handle over to the face, drag this handle to the face here, and I do my 2-inch cover there. And this one is as simple as dragging this out. Let's look at our example drawing. And you can see that we have continuous bars here, 1, 2, 3, 4 up here, only 3 on this side. And if you look at your notes, you have, where am I? 2 mats, number 5s, 12 inches on center each way. So we've got our number 5s vertical. Now we have to get our number 5s continuous. So we are going to go back to, well, let me deselect, component, reinforcing bar section, number 5. And again, I'm just getting these relatively placed. Now these are 12 inches on center, so now I can select both of these. I'm holding the control key to select multiple items. And I'm going to use the copy command. That's up here. Where is it? Here. I just use the shortcut there that it says CO. You type CO. And now I can click. I'm just going to click out here. I don't actually have to click a reference point on any of this because I know the dimension. It's 12 inches. So I click, move my cursor up, and type 1 foot. And now I can select these. I don't know what. That's weird. Oh, there we go. Select these again. Copy. Move up 1 foot. Copy. Oops. Don't know how that happened. 1 foot. Now this one is obviously in the wrong place, so I can delete that. I should have just copied 1. And that's how we place our rebar for this assignment. And that's pretty much everything that we need here. Now one thing I didn't do in my previous drawing was I did not create a level here. I kind of did that different in 2 different labs. But what I'm going to do here is go ahead and put that top of footing level in. So that is the datum panel. On either the architecture or structure, we have datums, and we're going to do a level, and we can simply draw that in. Actually, I'm going to figure out where this one goes to. Okay, so that's a 2D level anyway, so I'm just going to do this here. Double click to rename this top of footing. And I'm going to change the corresponding views to that. The rest of this drawing is essentially some dimensions and of course placing your notes. That's part of the drawing. I do not have that in the example drawing, the final deliverable here. You will have to take these notes from your instructions and place them in the proper location. And I'll quickly show you how to do that in the next video.